صفا كأنهم بنيان مرصوص.
جو لوگ اللہ کی راہ میں ایسے طور پر صف باندھ کر لڑتے ہیں کہ گویا سیسا پلائی ہوئی دیوار ہیں.
Indeed, Allah loves those who fight in His cause in a row, as though they are a single structure joined firmly.
In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Today we shall apprise you with the conduct and conclusion of Pakistan Armed Forces Operation Bunyanum Marsoos against Indian military dastardly attacks that began on night of 6th and 7th May 2025, resulting in the loss of innocent civilian lives that included women, children and elderly. Pakistan had vowed justice and retribution for reprehensible Indian military aggression and brutal killings of our citizens. Alhamdulillah, Pakistan Armed Forces have delivered the promise made to our people. I begin by thanking Almighty Allah for His infinite blessings, mercy, help and divine support, as He has ordained the believers to retaliate whenever they are wronged. We bow our heads to Him in utmost humility to have enabled us to translate our resolve into decisive actions in the battlefield. Our hearts and sympathies are with the wards and families of the Shuhada who sacrificed their lives for the beloved country, and our prayers are for the quick recovery of our injured countrymen. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to every officer, soldier, airman and sailor of the Armed Forces of Pakistan who made this success on the battlefield possible through their courage, professionalism and sacrifice. The Armed Forces of Pakistan express their profound appreciation and gratitude to the brave Pakistani nation whose moral strength, resolve and above all wholehearted support and prayers remained unwaveringly with us during these testing times, which became a force multiplier for the Armed Forces of Pakistan. We are specially indebted to the youth of Pakistan who became the frontline soldiers as information and cyber warriors of the country. Profound thanks are also due to you, the vibrant media of Pakistan, who also stood like Bunyanum Marsoos, a steel wall against the Indian media information blitz and fuming as well as warmongering done by the Indian media. We are extremely grateful to the political leadership of all political parties without any distinction for the unified resolve in support of their armed forces for the defense of our motherland. The armed forces are specifically grateful to the inspiring leadership of the Prime Minister of Pakistan and his cabinet ministers for taking destiny-changing decisions of the country and steering it through this critical situation. Let me share now the operational details of Operation Bunyanum Marsoos. Ladies and gentlemen, Pakistan's response was a textbook demonstration of integrated tri-services jointness enabled by real-time situational awareness, network-centric warfare capabilities, and seamless multi-domain operations. This synergy across air, land, sea, and cyber domains allowed for precision engagements, overwhelming lethality, and rapid tempo. All platforms operated in synergy, delivering coordinated effects at carefully selected decisive points. Using precision-guided long-range Fateh series missiles F-1 and F-2 of Pakistan Army, precision munitions of Pakistan Air Force, highly capable long-range loitering killer munitions, and precision long-range artillery. 26 military targets as well as facilities that were used to target Pakistani citizens and those for fomenting terrorism in Pakistan were engaged in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir and also mainland India. The targets included Air Force and aviation bases at Suratgarh, Sirsa, Bhuj, Nalia, Adampur, Bhatinda, Barnala, Halwara, Avantipura, Srinagar, Jammu, Udhampur, Mamoon, Ambala and Pathankot, which all sustained major damages. BrahMos storage facilities at Beas and Nagrota were also destroyed, which had fired missiles on Pakistan, killing innocent civilians, our flower-like children, our ladies and our elderly. S-400 battery system at Adampur and Bhuj was also attacked by our proud Pakistan Air Force. Military logistic and support sites which helped sustain this unlawful operation against innocent Pakistani civilians, like Field Supply Depot at Uri and Radar Station at Poonch, were also targeted. Military command headquarters, which helped plan the operational killing of our innocent citizens, especially the children, including 10th Brigade and 80 Brigade at KG Top and Nushaira, were also destroyed. Facilities which harbor, train and capacitate proxy elements that perpetrate terrorist attacks inside Pakistan, which kill innocent civilians, were specifically identified and destroyed. These include intelligence fusion support units and its forward field elements at Rajouri and Nushaira. Across the line of control, military elements including headquarters, logistic bases, artillery position and posts that had caused civilian casualties in Azad Jammu and Kashmir through unprovoked artillery and small arms fire were relentlessly targeted and heavily damaged until they raised white flags and asked for restraint. India used drones to violate Pakistani airspace to intimidate our civilians and spread fear. All through Operation Banyanum Marsoos, dozens of Pakistani armed drones hovered over Indian major cities and sensitive political and government facilities, including their capital, New Delhi. And from Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir all the way up to Gujarat, to manifest clearly our lethal long-range unmanned capability, to indicate the futility of the use of this domain in warfare. Pakistan Armed Forces also carried out comprehensive and effective cyber offensive to temporarily cripple and degrade critical infrastructure and services that were being used by Indian Armed Forces to sustain their operations. Let me tell you that Pakistan Armed Forces possess an adequate suite of very sophisticated niche military technologies, only some of which were used with restraint in this conflict, and there are many more such capabilities being kept as future surprises. Despite all this, let me say that compared to Indian relentless provocations, Pakistan's military response has been precise, proportionate, and still remarkably restrained. It was carefully calibrated to avoid civilian casualties and has exclusively targeted those entities and facilities which were directly involved in orchestrating and executing cold-blooded killings of Pakistani civilians and those carrying out terrorist attacks inside Pakistan. We must also inform you that Pakistan also sustained an abnormal and immediate spike in Indian-sponsored terrorism across Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan while we were busy in operations on the Eastern Front. This vindicates that India is directly involved in fomenting terrorism in Pakistan, and its proxies were fully operationalized during this time to distract our attention. Pakistan armed forces are resilient, and simultaneously with the conduct of Operation Bunyan-e Marsoos, we carried out most effective counter-terrorism operations in the western region without any pause. Operation Bunyan-e Marsoos has been a great example of coming together of all elements of national power with overwhelming support of Pakistani public to effectively counter the threat to our national sovereignty and integrity and the threat to our great motherland. No one should have any doubt that whenever our sovereignty would be threatened and territorial integrity violated, the response would be comprehensive, retributive, and decisive. Pakistan Armed Forces thank and salute the Pakistani nation for its courage, resilience, and national fervor during this conflict. Let me finish with the Quranic verse from the Surah Anfal. وَيَمْكُرُونَ وَيَمْكِرُ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. They plan and Allah plans, and Allah is the best of planners. Pakistan Zindabad, Afwaaj Pakistan Pindabad. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I will read out this statement in Urdu for our citizens of Pakistan in general. بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم. آج میں آپ کو پاکستان کی مسلح افواج کے آپریشن بنیان مرصوص کی کارروائی اور اس کے نتائج سے آگاہ کرنا چاہتا ہوں، جو بھارت کی بزدلانہ فوجی جارحیت کے جواب میں کیا گیا. یہ حملے 6 اور 7 مئی 2025 کی درمیانی شب شروع ہوئے، جن کے نتیجے میں معصوم شہری، جن میں خواتین، بچے اور بزرگ شامل تھے، شہید ہوئے. پاکستان نے بھارتی جارحیت اور ہمارے شہریوں کے بےہمانہ قتل پر انصاف اور انتقام کا وعدہ کیا تھا. الحمدللہ پاکستان کی مسلح افواج نے یہ وعدہ پورا کیا. میں سب سے پہلے رب ذوالجلال کا شکر ادا کرتا ہوں. رب ذوالجلال کا شکر ادا کرتا ہوں جس کی بے پایاں رحمت، نصرت اور مدد ہمارے ساتھ رہی. اللہ تعالیٰ نے مومنوں کو حکم دیا ہے کہ جب ان پر ظلم ہو تو وہ جواب دیں. ہم اللہ کے حضور سجدہ ریز ہوتے ہیں کہ اس نے ہمیں اپنی عزم کو فیصلہ کن عمل میں ڈھالنے کی توفیق عطا فرمائی. ہمارے دل اور دعائیں ان شہداء کے خاندانوں کے ساتھ ہیں جنہوں نے اپنی جانیں مادر وطن پر قربان کر دیں. ہم زخمیوں کی جلد صحت یابی کے لیے بھی دعا گو ہیں. ہم پاکستان کی مسلح افواج کے ہر آفیسر، سپاہی، ایئر مین اور سیلر کے بے حد مشکور ہیں جنہوں نے اپنی جرت، پیشہ ورانہ مہارت اور قربانی سے میدان جنگ میں کامیابی کو ممکن بنایا. ہم پاکستان کی مسلح افواج پوری قوم، خصوصاً نوجوانوں کے جذبے، حوصلے اور بھرپور حمایت پر دل کی گہرائیوں سے شکر گزار ہیں، جنہوں نے مشکل ترین وقت میں ہمارے حوصلے کو کئی گنا بڑھایا. ہم پاکستان کے ان نوجوانوں کے بھی مقروض ہیں جو سائبر اور انفارمیشن کے محاذ پر صف اول کے سپاہی بنے. ہم پاکستان کے متحرک اور بہادر میڈیا کے بھی شکر گزار ہیں جنہوں نے بھارت کے پروپیگنڈا اور جنگی جنون کے خلاف بنیان و مرصوص یعنی ایک آہنی دیوار کی طرح کھڑے ہوئے. ہم بلا تفریق تمام سیاسی جماعتوں کی قیادت کے بھی ممنون ہیں جنہوں نے سیاسی اختلافات سے بالا تر ہو کر، وطن کے دفاع میں متحد ہو کر افواج پاکستان کے شانہ بشانہ کھڑے ہونے کا بہترین مظاہرہ کیا۔ مسلح افواج بالخصوص پاکستان کے وزیر اعظم اور ان کی کابینہ کی قائدانہ صلاحیتوں اور جرأت مندانہ فیصلوں کی بھی قدردان ہیں، جنہوں نے ملک کو اس نازک موڑ پر درست سمت میں رہنمائی فراہم کی۔ خواتین و حضرات، اب میں آپ کو آپریشن بنیان مرصوص کی تفصیلات سے آگاہ کروں گا۔ پاکستان کا جواب ایک نصابی نمونہ تھا، جس میں تینوں افواج کی مکمل ہم آہنگی کے ساتھ حقیقی وقت پر صورتحال کی آگاہی، نیٹ ورک سینٹرک وارفیئر اور ملٹی ڈومین آپریشنز کی مکمل صلاحیت بروئے کار لائی گئی۔ زمین، فضا، سمندر اور سائبر سپیس میں مکمل ہم آہنگی سے اہم اہداف کو تباہ کیا گیا۔ پاکستان فوج کے F-1 اور F-2 دور مار کرنے والے میزائل، پاک فضائیہ کے جدید پریسائز منیشن، طویل فاصلے تک مار کرنے والے لوئٹرنگ ایمونیشن اور جدید پریسائز آرٹلری کے ذریعے بھارت کے 26 اہم فوجی اہداف کو نشانہ بنایا گیا۔ وہ تنصیبات جو پاکستانی شہریوں کو نشانہ بنانے کے لیے استعمال ہوئیں، اور وہ تنصیبات جو پاکستان میں دہشت گردی کو فروغ دینے میں استعمال ہوتی ہیں، اور ان تنصیبات کو نہ صرف بھارتی غیر قانونی زیر تسلط جموں و کشمیر میں بلکہ بھارت کے اندر بھی نشانہ بنایا گیا۔ نشانہ بنانے والے فضائی اور ہوائی اڈوں میں ایئر فورس اور ایویشن بیسز سورت گڑھ، سرسا، بھج، نالیا، آدم پور، بھٹنڈا، برنالہ، ہلواڑہ، اونتی پورہ، سری نگر، جموں، ادھم پور، مامون، امبالہ اور پٹھان کوٹ شامل تھے۔ بیاس اور نگروٹا میں موجود براموس میزائل کے ذخائر جو پاکستانی شہریوں پر حملوں میں استعمال ہوئے، ان کو تباہ کیا گیا۔ S-400 ایئر ڈیفنس سسٹم کو پاک فضائیہ نے بوجھ اور آدم پور میں نشانہ بنایا۔ اڑی میں فیلڈ سپلائی ڈیپو اور پونچھ میں ریڈار سٹیشن جیسے لاجسٹک اور سپورٹ مراکز کو بھی نشانہ بنایا گیا۔ کے جی ٹاپ اور نوشہرہ میں موجود 10 بریگیڈ اور 80 بریگیڈ کی کمانڈ تنصیبات کو بھی تباہ کیا گیا۔ یہ وہ تنصیبات ہیں جہاں سے بلا اشتعال فائرنگ کر کے معصوم بچوں اور عورتوں کو نشانہ بنایا گیا۔ راجوڑی اور نوشہرہ میں موجود ملٹری انٹیلیجنس کی یونٹیں اور ان کے فیلڈ عناصر جو پاکستان میں دہشت گردی میں ملوث پراکسیز کو سپورٹ دیتے تھے، ان کو بھی ختم کیا گیا۔ لائن آف کنٹرول کے پار وہ تمام آرٹلری، لاجسٹک اور پوسٹیں جو آزاد جموں اینڈ کشمیر میں سویلینز پر فائرنگ کرتی تھیں، ان پر شدید اور مسلسل جوابی کارروائی کی گئی، یہاں تک کہ انہوں نے سفید جھنڈے اٹھا لیے۔ بھارت نے ڈرونز کے ذریعے پاکستانی فضا کی خلاف ورزی کی تاکہ عوام میں خوف پھیلایا جا سکے اور ان کو ہراساں کیا جا سکے۔ اس کے رد عمل میں آپریشن بنیان و مرصوص کے دوران پاکستان کی مسلح ڈرونز بھارت کے بڑے شہروں انکلوڈنگ دارالحکومت نیو دہلی اور اللیگلی آکوپائڈ جموں اینڈ کشمیر سے لے کر گجرات تک مسلسل پرواز کرتے رہے، تاکہ پاکستان کی صلاحیت کا نہ صرف اظہار کیا جا سکے اور بلکہ یہ بتایا جا سکے کہ اس ڈرونز کے ڈومین کا موجودہ وارفیئر میں کوئی فائدہ نہیں۔ پاکستانی افواج نے بھرپور سائبر حملے بھی کیے، جن کے نتیجے میں ان بھارتی اہم مواصلاتی اور انفراسٹرکچر نظام کو مفلوج کیا گیا جو کہ بھارتی افواج کے استعمال کر رہی تھی۔ یہ یاد رہے کہ پاکستانی افواج کے پاس ایسی کئی جدید جنگی صلاحیتیں موجود ہیں جن کا کچھ کا استعمال اس تنازع میں محدود سطح پر کیا گیا، اور کئی صلاحیتیں آئندہ کے لیے محفوظ رکھی گئی ہیں۔ ان سب اقدامات کے باوجود میں واضح کرنا چاہتا ہوں کہ بھارت کی مسلسل اشتعال انگیزی کے مقابلے میں پاکستان کا رد عمل نہایت درست، متوازن اور محدود نوعیت کا رہا۔ ہر ہدف جو ہمارے معصوم شہریوں کے قتل یا پاکستان میں دہشت گردی میں براہ راست ملوث تھا، ان کو احتیاط سے نہ صرف منتخب کیا گیا بلکہ انشور کیا گیا کہ عام شہری متاثر نہ ہوں۔ ہم یہ بھی واضح کرنا چاہتے ہیں کہ جب مشرقی سرحد پر افواج پاکستان دفاع میں مصروف تھیں تو خیبر پختونخوا اور بلوچستان میں بھارتی سرپرستی میں دہشت گردی میں غیر معمولی اضافہ ہوا، جو اس بات کا دوبارہ ایک ناقابل تردید ثبوت ہے کہ بھارت پاکستان میں دہشت گردی کو اپنی پراکسیز کے ذریعے فروغ دے رہا ہے۔ تاہم افواج پاکستان نے مغربی محاذ پر بھی انسداد دہشت گردی آپریشنز کو بغیر کسی وقفے کے کامیابی سے جاری رکھا۔ خواتین و حضرات، آپریشن بنیان و مرصوص ایک ایسی شاندار مثال ہے جہاں قوم کی تمام طاقتیں متحد ہوئیں اور متحد ہو کر مادر وطن کے تحفظ کے لیے کھڑی ہو گئیں۔ کسی کو بھی کوئی شک نہیں ہونا چاہیے کہ جب کبھی ہماری خود مختاری یا سرحدوں کی خلاف ورزی کی گئی، ہمارا رد عمل جامع، جوابی اور فیصلہ کن ہوگا۔ افواج پاکستان پاکستانی قوم کو اس کے حوصلے، عزم اور حب الوطنی پر سلام پیش کرتی ہے۔ اور آخر میں سورہ انفال کی ان آیات پر ختم کرنا چاہوں گا، وَيَمْكُرُونَ وَيَمْكُرُ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ۔ وہ تو اپنی تدبیریں کر رہے تھے اور اللہ اپنی تدبیر کر رہا تھا، اور وہ سب سے مستحکم تدبیر کرنے والا ہے۔ پاکستان زندہ باد، افواج پاکستان پائندہ باد۔ اب میں آپ کو اس آپریشن کی مزید جزیات سے آگاہ کرنے کے لیے آپ کی توجہ اسکرین کی جانب مقبول کرانا چاہوں گا۔
کم من فیۃ قلیلۃ غلبت فیۃ کثیرۃ باذن اللہ۔ And the translation reads, how many times it happened that a smaller force vanquished a bigger force by the will of Allah. History has proven that the complete nation and its armed forces have always stood together with all their might against any act of aggression. Alhamdulillah, we have the will, capacity and capability to protect our sovereignty and territorial integrity, and we are all well aware of the ways and means to do it. Our forefathers, they have sacrificed immensely, and we have sacrificed a lot for the creation of this country, and we know how to defend it. If this great Pakistani nation and the Pakistani armed forces, if 1.3 million Indian army with all their wherewithal, if they cannot intimidate us and they cannot coerce us, these terrorists can subdue the armed forces of Pakistan.
ہم صرف یہ کہنا چاہتے ہیں کہ نہ ہم تمہاری طاقت، نہ تمہاری مکاری اور تمہاری جارحیت سے مروب ہونے والی قوم ہے۔ Now you just wait for our response.
Bismillah ar-Rahman. Today on 10th May at the time of Fajr, we have given a strong punch to our enemy. Alhamdulillah. Nare Allahu Akbar.
Today is 10th May 2025 and this is a smashing response to a coward enemy, and it will inshallah continue. براہ!
Next slide. If you remember, the armed forces of Pakistan promised you 3 things. We told you that we will give a befitting response to Indian aggression. We told you and we told the nation that, however, this response will be at the time, place, and method of our own choosing. And we also told the nation that when we will hit the Indians, the entire world will come to know. And we also told that you will not require the Indian media to report to you the phantom strikes that they said that Pakistan is taking place. Didn't we tell you all these 3 things? We told you. And we also told you that as these armed forces say, we ardently love to embrace Shahadat far more than you fear death. So, gentlemen, this is how it culminated. Now I will show you another clip which will tell you the story.
Pakistan says the country has launched a retaliatory military operation against India. Operation Bunyan-ul-Marsus, which translates to a firm wall of lead, is targeting military facilities in India.
We have seen this pattern of strikes in the morning, then retaliatory strikes at night. It is hard to imagine from this moment where I stand that New Delhi won't want to respond.
Pakistan's army said an eye for an eye. It's claimed that the counter-offensive is ongoing and that it's targeting air bases in India from which missiles had been launched.
Just after morning fresh, there were series of loud explosions were heard across Jammu and Kashmir, including Uri, Nagrota, Jammu, Udhampur, as well as the major cities of Srinagar and Jammu.
Pakistan decided to launch a massive retaliation that included fixed-wing aircraft, as well as drones, and also cyber attacks.
They hit 8 air bases inside of India and Indian-controlled Kashmir. Important distinction, these are India proper as well as in Indian-controlled Kashmir. And those air bases, one of them they say that they've hit a sophisticated air defense system, and another one that they say that they've taken out a missile storage tank.
Pakistan's military says the strikes are in retaliation for what it calls Indian aggression. Islamabad claims it has hit multiple military targets near the line of control.
Pakistan responded with a relentless, a massive barrage of missiles and rockets, they say, Pakistan says, into Indian military facilities, bases inside India, air bases, weapons storage, and along that disputed line of control in Kashmir against military bases there. They say that this, from the Pakistan perspective, their communications, how they were communicating with Secretary Rubio, that really put India on the back foot. It didn't know what had happened. India, according to Pakistan, reached out to Secretary Rubio, reached out to the Saudis, reached out to the Turks, reached out to others to find a diplomatic off-ramp, got engaged after that onslaught in diplomacy, but telling the mediators that they were going to go on a pause on the Indian side.
घबराहट एक तो लोगों की नजर आ रही है क्योंकि तमाम एयरबेस ध्वस्त होते हुए नजर आ रहे हैं, आग के गोले में बदले हुए नजर आ रहे हैं. सबसे ज्यादा जो चर्चा है वो ये कि जब आप अपने एयरबेस को नहीं बचा सकते तो जनता को क्या बचाएंगे.
बड़ी खबर निकल के सामने आ रही है, पठानकोट एयरबेस ते हमला होया है. जी दादी के पठानकोट एयरबेस ते हमला होया, दूजे पासे जम्मू एयरबेस ते हमला होया.
ये पाकिस्तान की साइड से है, देखिएगा. अब हमें आवाज़ से ही पता लग जाता है. जो सीटी बजाता हुआ तेजी से आता है और हमारे करीब जोरदार आवाज़ के साथ फटता है, वो पाकिस्तान की तरफ से फेंका गया, पुंछ पर फेंका गया.
देखिए उन्होंने जो किया है, पठानकोट, पठान हमारा आगे जिसको हम कहें एडवांस एयरबेस है, बहुत है. उन्होंने उधमपुर में किया है, ये किया है श्रीनगर के पास में किया है, अवंतीपुर में.
सिरसा को आपने बताया एयरबेस है वहां पर, उसको उसने टारगेट किया है, और तो वो ड्रोन्स के साथ साथ अपनी बड़ी मिसाइल भी दाग रहा था.
पूरी तरह से धमाकों की जो आवाजें हैं वो राजौरी, पुंछ के साथ साथ जम्मू के अलग अलग इलाकों में यहाँ पर सुनाई दे रही हैं.
पाकिस्तान बिल्कुल आखिर में ये इस्तेमाल करेगा और पाकिस्तान को शुरू में ही इस्तेमाल कर रहा है कि वह और भी बहुत सारे मिसाइलों का जखीरा है और इससे भी ज्यादा कारगर मिसाइल है.
The attacks that have been coming in from the Pakistani forces, we saw how they lit up the entire border area all the way from the north in Kupwara, in Uri, where the ceasefire violations were taking place. Then we saw the drone strikes which were taking place in the Jammu area, all the way down to Bhuj. There were several attacks coming in from the Pakistan side, several drone strikes which were coming in from the Pakistan side.
So again remember and see that didn't the whole world hear and report? Because that's what we promised. Your armed forces promised and delivered that. Now I would like to draw your attention to the next clip, that how the Indian Ministry of Defence itself reported this.
Pakistan military continued with its provocations, carrying out aggressive actions employing multiple threat vectors all along the western border. Pakistan employed UCAV, drones, long-range weapons, loitering munitions and fighter aircrafts to target military infrastructure. Pakistan military also resorted to air intrusions using drones and firing of heavy caliber weapons along the line of control. Air intrusion and several harassment attacks were also attempted from Srinagar till Nalia at more than 26 locations. Damage was sustained to equipment and personnel at Indian Air Force stations at Udhampur, Pathankot, Adhampur and Bhuj. There were also several high-speed missile attacks noticed with heavy damages to other military stations in Kupwara, Baramulla, Poonch, Rajouri and Akhnur sectors continued. Indian Armed Forces reiterate their commitment to non-escalation, provided it is reciprocated by the Pakistan military.
भारतीय सशस्त्र बल दोहराते हैं कि वे तनाव वृद्धि नहीं चाहते, बशर्ते पाकिस्तान भी ऐसा ही व्यवहार करे.
So did you find even there from the Indian statements that did Pakistan attack anything other than military targets? No. Did any international media, even Indian media, what are they reporting? Precise targeting of the military installations, posts. We told you that we don't target civilians. Our religion does not allow us. Our culture does not allow us. Our professionalism of these armed forces doesn't allow us. That we will never target civilians. So they are even acknowledging that. And they are also saying that once they received the message, once they got the message, then who asked for non-escalation? Who requested that they want non-escalation, that the things should go down? So it's for all to see. So now I will request first Vice Admiral Rab Nawaz to give you a short brief on the naval operations that were part of the Operation Banyan-e-Marsoos, followed by Air Vice Marshal Aurangzeb on the air operations. And after that, we will take your questions and answers. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll very briefly talk about the role of Pakistan Navy in the defense of Pakistan during this particular crisis. And by the grace of Almighty Allah and with Almighty's help, we were able to defend Pakistan's sea frontiers and deter an enemy which is numerically superior. We kept the enemy at bay, and I'll just briefly talk about how we executed our operations. So essentially, protection of Pakistan's maritime interests and seaworld defense, that is the task of the Navy. And Alhamdulillah, with the help of Almighty Allah, we were able to do that. On any given day of the year, we maintain perpetual readiness. And what that means is that our ships and submarines, they are stocked up, all the military logistics are stocked up. And for us, the transition from peace to war is not only swift, it's almost invisible. And when this false flag thing happened in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, we immediately mobilized. and we completed the operational deployments of Pakistani Navy fleet units and also the coastal command units in matter of hours. Our submarines, our ships and aircraft, they were at in their respective areas where they were supposed to be, and we were ready to thwart any aggression from the sea. And go on to the next slide. Ladies and gentlemen, maritime domain awareness, that is essentially to know what is happening in your area of interest. That is critical for the naval operations. And I'll just briefly talk about that, because to generate any response, you need to be aware of the happening in your area of responsibility. And we were maintaining 24/7 vigil at sea. And okay. A couple of days back, there was a hype. You heard about INS Vikrant approaching Karachi. And I'll just briefly tell you that we were keeping a very close eye on the activities at sea. And this is essentially the Indian Navy surface disposition throughout these days. They had a couple of ships in this particular area. They were moving around in this area. Another ship off Salalah, which was operating over there. And this is the much talked about the Indian carrier. We were monitoring it right from the day one. On 30th of April, it was here. Then it moved up here. Subsequently, it moved up here. And on the night of 6th and 7th May, it was back, close to Ratnagiri, very close to Mumbai. And then on 9th May, it was here, essentially 400 nautical miles away from Pakistani coast. And again, then it retreated back close to Mumbai. So we were keeping a very close track on this particular carrier movement. And there was no cause of concern at any time. If the carrier comes closer to 400 nautical miles and even closer, that essentially simplifies our problem. So we were, the Pakistan Navy Maritime Air Arm, in coordination with the strike component of Pakistan Air Force, they were cockpit ready to generate any kind of response at that time, at all times. And I was in constant communication with the Deputy Chief of Air Staff, Air Vice Marshal Aurangzeb, at all times. And we were just ready, if there is any aggression from the sea, we were there to respond effectively. And let me say another thing. That is, you know about the carriers, you have seen them in the movies, but as a professional military officer, I don't want to underestimate the enemy, but let's put the things in the right perspective. The INS Vikrant and the carrier, the Western carrier, there's a huge difference. This is an aircraft carrier which essentially sailed with 8 to 12 MiG-29s, which was barely essential to carry out its own air defense. The purpose of the carrier is power projection and to ensure air superiority in a given sea area. So with this, less said the better. This is simply not possible, and the Indian Navy exactly knew this, and that is precisely why on the 9th of 6th and 7th, when they carried out this cowardly attack on the civilians, they moved this carrier to the safety of their own coast, well away from Pakistan's strike capability, close to this Ratnagiri area. And again, on the night of 9th and 10th, it was moved very close to the Mumbai. It was essentially 17 to 20 nautical miles off Mumbai. But we were keeping a track. We were fully aware of their movements in this area, and we were always ready to generate a response in coordination with the Air Force, especially in case of the aircraft carrier. Subsurface elements, the offensive element, they were offensively deployed. They were in their respective areas and ready to generate a response. And also, you might have seen this footage. We were not only in the surface domain, but we were essentially effectively monitoring their air surveillance things. And because of the operation security reason, I'll not talk much about how we did that, but we were keeping an eye on this particular activity as well. And likewise, in the subsurface domain, our anti-submarine warfare vigilance was all-time high. We were monitoring the movement of their submarines when they left their shores, and we exactly, had an idea where they would be, and we had our ASW surveillance and suppression effectively going on at all times. Likewise, another component of Pakistan Navy's responsibility is the defense of the Creek area. We had our Coastal Command units deployed over there in close coordination with Headquarter 5 Corps elements, Pakistan Army elements, and they were poised to defend this particular area in case of any aggression from the south. Another important component is the protection of ports and harbors. You have just heard the DG-ISP talked about the subconventional threat that we witnessed. There was a surge in other part of the country, and we were, there were real-time apprehension that there may be a surge. So we ensured the protection of all ports and harbors of Pakistan, and Coastal Command elements, they effectively played a very, very important role in this. And just to mention that on the night of 6 and 7, when they carried out the attack on Pakistan, we were fully ready to respond to any aggression from the sea. We were just ready, and but the enemy chose not to come over. It was essentially not a matter of choice. I would say it was a matter of compulsion, because enemy fully understood the cost it would have incurred had it ventured from the sea. And likewise, वापस जाइएगा, go back please, go back. And a few words about the missile threat that you have talked about. You must have heard the enemy missile attack. We were keeping a very close eye on enemy deployment in this area, from where they can potentially launch a missile threat towards Karachi. We were fully aware, and we had our response ready to in that eventuality. And go on to the next slide, please. Ladies and gentlemen, all operations, whatever we do in the military domain, they are to create certain effects. We look for the effects, and the effect that we created, we were able to resolutely, with our posture, we were able to deter the Indian Navy despite its numerical superiority. Number of times have more assets and more forces, and with an annual budget of like $13 billion. So Pakistan Navy, with its potential, with its posture, with its capability, was effectively able to deter the Indian Navy from doing any venture from the sea, alhamdulillah. And that is very, very important. That is essentially the job of the Navy, to ensure that the free flow of trade continues. That's the backbone of the economy. Our 95% of trade is through the sea. Alhamdulillah, we were able to ensure that the shipping continues, the free flow of trade was ensured, and we were able, all our ports and harbors, they remained open. And you can Google yourself. So what was the case on the other side? You can Google about Kanda and Mandra, and there were some disruptions, but that you can check for yourself. But alhamdulillah, we were able to effectively ensure this. Next. We had a wonderful inter-services synergy, very effective communication, and like I said, I was in constant touch with the DGMO and the Deputy Chief of Air Staff Operations. At all times, we fully coordinated our operations, and alhamdulillah, and I think that's really successful for execution of maritime operations. Aage chale. Alhamdulillah, we came up to the national expectations. We ensured defense of Pakistan's maritime frontiers, and we were able to deter the enemy from any adventurism from the sea. And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you that we remain ever ready to thwart any aggression from the sea at all times. So we will keep our guard. We always keep our guard, and inshallah we will keep our guard in days to come. And last but not the least, I'll end my presentation that the next time when you think of Pakistan Navy and the silent guy, please remember that with the help of Almighty Allah, our actions will always speak louder than words. Thank you very much, and I request AVM Aurangzeb.
So the Indians didn't choose to come on the sea. Now you understand why.
بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وتعز من تشاء وتذل من تشاء بيدك الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير. On behalf of Pakistan Air Force, Chief of the Air Staff, Pakistan Air Force, I stand here with you all with deep-rooted humility and gratitude. I am so thankful for Allah helped us in achieving whatever we desired, even whatever we deserved, more than what we deserved. For being able to be up to the task for PF, as they say, second to none. Ladies and gentlemen, as the DGSPR mentioned, I am Deputy Chief of Air Staff Operations. I'll pick up from where I left day before yesterday. PF versus IF, 6-0. The PF's response has strengthened Pakistan's national security, alhamdulillah. And it has even strengthened our commitment, the enduring commitment the PF has for stability and peace. But I have no doubt, and I can say with assurances, that the real genius and the mastermind, the cerebrum behind the design and the aim and the structure, the game plan of PF was the Chief of the Air Staff, Air Chief Marshal Zahir Ahmed Babad Sidhu. He asked us to do 3 things in our response: re-establish deterrence, neutralize key threats, retain control of air. And I will show you in my presentation how we try to do that. Slide. During the befitting response that we generated in our first episode, we attrited the IF's pride, the Rafales, resulting in this entire fleet almost coming to a standstill, a ground position. You could see that they were not flying after that, at least not close to their western border. This reduction in flying to bare minimum actually reduced their liberty of action. They curtailed their options. Slide. This is the Pakistan's air defense environment. Pakistan air defense environment is offensive, it's integrated, it's credible. And I'll show you. IF initiated having no space with their manned aircraft. They initiated with their unmanned aircraft operations, targeting Pakistan's civilian population and their infrastructure. Here you see all these spots all across the swath of drones and UAVs who are coming inside our territory, which is being picked up by all our radars from the moment they were entering, even before that. Slide. Now, PF's air defense environment is suitably configured to detect enemies' low RCS radio radar cross-section, high and slow speed platforms. That you can see that they are all visible by the time they are entering. Slide. So the anti-drone systems of Pakistan Air Force and Pakistan Army also, and Navy, they rendered the enemy US drones attacks ineffective by spoofing, jamming, and making their systems, rendering them unserviceable. Slide. All drones with low cross-section also were detected, rendered useless through utilization of the indigenous GPS jamming systems that we have, the data and the SATCOM link denial that we created through our indigenous systems that we have made ourselves. So whenever those systems were attacked with the soft kill, they had their error induced into the GPSs and they were going haywire. And whenever they were coming closer to any civil population or civil area of high value, a direct or a hot kill was achieved on them. Slide. So here you can see they were neutralized mid-air with the hard kill whenever they were coming close to any population or any area. Being in a sparsely populated area, they were left all alone and they were applied with the soft kill. Slide. Now, after that, when the US chapter was over and they were fearing PF's retribution, in utter desperation, the IF resorted to a highly escalatory, very irresponsible surface-to-surface and long-range vector application. You can see this is Suratgarh and this is our base Rafiki. This is our eastern border, and you can see the BrahMos, high-speed BrahMos, traveling almost at 3,000 kilometers per hour, who are going over there and coming, numerous, one after another. And now they were being attacked with PF's soft kill. We were inducing the errors into them, into the GPSs, which increased their CEP. The probability of missing their target increases. And hard kill was also achieved. Here you see one of the US has gone, if by the end of the slide you see one of the US has overshot the target and gone ahead. And this is the radar picture. You can see that they are going, this BrahMos will miss the target and will go ahead and fall in some no man's land. And they are being, one after another, they are coming back, crossing the borders. They are being picked, they are being picked as soon as they are being launched. So real-time launch, mid-flight and terminal phase of all SSM, PF has the capability. Our air defense system, as I just mentioned, is very offensive, integrated, and credible. So here you see that they are being launched from Bhuj area. This is the southern part of the country. And this is our airfield Bhulari. You must have mentioned, you have seen there were a lot of mention from our counterparts. Here you see this BrahMos is coming. It's almost reaching the target, and you'll see when we will apply the soft kill, look what happened to it. It moved left and then disappeared towards the ground. I mean, this is the radar evidence that we have, that there so many of their vectors missed the targets. A lot of them did make, because they were throwing like hundreds of them. Next slide. There is one more very interesting thing that I would like you to all see. This is where it is launched from our eastern side towards Jaisalmer. This is our airfield Shahbaz, Jacobabad. Now this BrahMos is crossing on top of Shahbaz, and it is going towards our western border, almost to our neighboring country, towards that. You can see this is going there, it's going ballistic. Now they are not even threatening their neighbor, they are threatening the regional stability of the whole continent and the larger area. So effective sensor to shooter grid that was made by PAF, and the potent hardened soft kill capability that led to the missed target opportunities for lots of their surface to surface and long range vectors. Slide. Now this is another thing that I want you to all to see. This is a launch of a high speed projectile that has been launched from their area surrounding Adampur. Now these are the vectors where our radars are picking them, and it is disappearing short of Amritsar area within their own territory. I mean, this is the most absurd kind of a targeting psychology or practice that you would see, that you are not only targeting neighboring countries to your enemy, if they consider it, and your own people as well, jeopardizing their safety. I mean, this is the high-speed project impacting within own territory, and we have other pictures for that also. This is the repeat occurrence that happened the other night also. Slide. Now the PF's response, I would like you all to pay attention to that, because this is kind of a dizzy slide, but I will go one by one so that it's all clear. PF's response, PF's effective spectrum warfare, which supplemented the kinetic ops that we envisaged to take. The integrated, seamless, synchronous utilization of EW, cyber, and space domains, coupled with the synergetic all-domain offensive response, which orchestrated following a very intricate targeting mech, the mechanism that we undertook to engage the targets, of swift, calibrated, effect-based approach to operations, which was undertaken across complete swath of the Indian Western Front. Now you have seen in the video montage that the whole border was exposed by PF and our armed forces. So starting from the north across LOC till Kandla, with targets including airfields, ammo dumps, as far and as deep as Delhi. I mean, you can say something about Islamabad, which is a stone's throw distance, and Delhi, with, as the DG Aspire mentioned, some other cards up our sleeves with more ranges. The Barnala C2 Center, which is the heart of their IACCS, and other airfields, Nalia Bhuj and Kandla, as they mentioned. You can see, Google it also so that you can see the effects. PF's hypersonic missiles, unmanned force, stand-up weapons, and long-range vectors all were on the menu for the multi-domain operations that we undertook. So PF's utilization of niche and disruptive capabilities struck deep inside the enemy. And there were like hundreds of drones that were there. Hypersonic, engaged targets, deep, precise, lethal, destructive. Slide. Just go back. I will explain the slide that is coming ahead. So our aim was to achieve ascendancy in effects so that we manage the escalation. Throughout the conflict of whatever length it was, we had the escalation management at our side. So within a short span of time of couple of hours, we had really saturated our friendly neighborhood. Next slide. This much talked about S-400 threat. As I mentioned that we were giving special attention to the Rafales in the air, so we gave our remaining part of our attention to the S-400 on ground. Now identifying S-400, attacking them is a easier part than identifying it on ground because it is mobile, it's a high value thing, and you guard it. It's kind of a center of gravity. So we were tracking through our satellite imagery well before the hostilities, as we usually do. So we had pinpointed S-400. As you can see, we knew that this is parked. It's cheeseboard radar, and the other part of the radar, the other constituents of the whole S4 battery. Slide. These coordinates, go back. These coordinates were ortho-rectified by our space department, so that you have a very precise engagement. Whenever you are throwing and employing long-range vectors, you really need very precise coordinates so that you don't miss. So S-400 was at Adampur was targeted like that. Next. As I mentioned, some niche technologies and capabilities were employed. So our loiter munition and killer drone strike at PF. At Udhampur, you can see this was their complex and command and control, magnified before and after. It's not there. Now these kind of pictures, loads of pictures are there for targets. So I need not to show them. They were saying it themselves, as you saw on the montage. So PF's response remained very effective, very potent, and very effect-based. Slide. Time and place of own choosing, displaying bold, aggressive, and unwavering resolve of military leadership. I must take a moment to mention what kind of a pressure you have when this kind of a conflict arises, and I must appreciate the leadership, both the Chief of the Army Staff and Chief of the Air Staff, both. They were both very resolute and very clear in giving instructions to all of us who are the players towards the Navy, Army, and the Air Force. And that is perhaps the reason we were so sure about it, what we have to do. In speed and direction, sometimes you have to prioritize direction more than the speed. So we had the correct directions to follow. Slide. With unprecedented reach, precision, lethality, while avoiding collateral, as we have seen in the video montage. PF hit maximum number of IF airfields in a single operational package since 1971, because they crossed the international border since that, so we had to do that. Slide. While re-establishing deterrence, Pakistan negated the setting of a new normal under the hegemonistic design of a supremacist regime through swift and effective response. Slide. On a closing note, from Pakistan Air Force, PF remains committed to ensure Pakistan's airspace sovereignty and pursue peace with strength. Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, after these presentations, you can understand that Army, Air Force, and Navy, the tri-service synergy that was exhibited, and all the three services acted jointly like one body. And just a mention on the air bases that were targeted by the Indians. We have the post damage assessment report from all. There has been certain infrastructure damage. Of course, there has been. Only one aircraft has minor damage, which will be repaired and soon operational again. So, because the air defense system of Pakistan worked efficiently and very effectively. A few examples of that have been given to you by the AVM Aurangzeb. The drones that came in, 84 were shot and they never went back. And we also promise you that they can send anything. Whatever they will send, it will not go back. So that's a promise also that we kept. So now we can start with the question and answer. And before that, we again first bow our heads in humility to Almighty Allah for giving us this great success, and the people of Pakistan for the support that was with the armed forces. And the armed forces and the people of Pakistan were one body again. They worked together for thwarting this threat against this motherland. So we can have the first question.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. This is Sumaira Khan from Sama Television. And first of all, let me convey the pulse of the nation as well. They cannot reach you in person, every one of them, but the heart of felicitation is indeed with you from the masses of Pakistan, specifically youth, you mentioned very rightly. My question is, in that whole span of escalation, the Indian government had been issuing extremely provocative statements regarding initiation of war, and not just the government, but unfortunately their media was also, to me it seemed very war frenzy. And but in that whole time, in the meanwhile, I saw Pakistani side and I saw you very defensively responding to all the hegemony and Indian aggression. So I just wanted to know that it was part of your strategy. What was that? Or you never wanted that escalation to rise to all those levels? And a quick comment from Aurangzeb as well, that the multi-domain, how would you elaborate it? How did you incur it in the PF strategy to kill the Indian side in the battlefield? Thank you.
So as far as question to the escalation is concerned, let me say it. The reality is that in a conflict which is between two rival nuclear powers, such a conflict is actually an absurdity, and it is inconceivable and sheer stupidity. Why? Because that conflict can lead, in the case of Indo-Pakistan, India-Pakistan, can lead to the peril of more than 1.6 billion people. So, in reality, there is no space for war between India and Pakistan. And if anyone wants to carve out this space for war, he is actually carving out space for mutual annihilation. So that is why you saw that in this conflict, Pakistan acted in a very mature manner. And through conventional forces, we maintained escalation control. Through conventional forces, we gave them a two-notch up response, while also ensuring that these forces, the Pakistan Army and the other forces that were employed on the Western Front, on the counter-terrorism operations, no pull is also exerted on them. Thank you.
Can you hear me? You just asked regarding the multi-domain operations. It's a very good question because this is the buzzword nowadays. But it's not actually something in air. It's an actual real milestone for PEF. The warfare has changed drastically, and so has everything that is associated with it. It's not the erstwhile concept where you can just get the number of aircraft in air and see. It's called a new AMSO, the electromagnetic spectrum operations. It's a whole new environment that is there. And everything that is regarding Air Force and in the air, it's concerning the electromagnetic spectrum. Now, air supremacy has to be preceded by a spectrum supremacy. And if you control the spectrum, you control the conflict. So Pakistan Air Force, and especially this is a thing that is pursued so vigorously by Chief of the Air Staff, that we have to have that spectrum warfare capability. And you saw how we manifested it. It is a combination of EW, space, cyber, air, land, and sea, command, control, communication, infrastructure, information. All these things, they are in the wider spectrum of electromagnetic operations. And that is how you create an environment. You create an EW web that you manifest in the whole operations. It has to be choreographed at each step, and when to administer what. And it has to be preconceived. I mean, you can't do it randomly, and you cannot just do it on your whims. So you have to understand the whole idea and whole architecture. It might get pretty technical, but multi-domain operations is the need of the day, and all those air forces who kind of relegate it, they end up in the wrong side of the barrel. So Pakistan Air Force prioritizes it. We have our own Spectrum Warfare Operations Center, which is controlling the even in a small battle or an engagement to a larger campaign. Because now all the players who are there, all aircraft, they have so much of sensors, and there's so much of fusion going on, the data links, the software-defined radars, they're all thriving on the electromagnetic spectrum or being challenged by it. So each player is taking a campaign-level decision, the kind of information he is having. And if he doesn't get that information, he is redundant. So electromagnetic warfare is the need of the hour, and multi-domain operations is what carries you, propels you to perform and achieve the mission success with mission survivability, denying the same to the enemy. Thank you.
My name is Kiran. I'm from the Khorasan Diary. Sir, I have two questions on what basically I need confirmation. Is that one, when President Trump tweeted about the ceasefire, they said that Pakistan and India can talk in a third country. और अभी जो शाम में इंडियन अथॉरिटीज़ की मीटिंग प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस हुई है, दे सेड दैट द DGMOs spoke in which Pakistani DGMO asked for ceasefire first, and tomorrow there is a call already planned at 1200. Meanwhile, the IAF said that their operation is still continued. So what is Pakistan's strategy tomorrow when the two DGMOs are going to talk? And the second thing is that as international media also reported that Pakistan has Indian pilot in the custody. So do we have Indian pilot in our custody? And if we have, are we going to return her or him?
So I can confirm you very clearly, we don't have any pilot in custody. This is all social media chatter. This is all part of the multiple source of fake news and propaganda that keeps on, that has been generated from multiple sources. As far as your first question is concerned, let me say it very clearly and put it on record. Pakistan never requested. The fact of the matter is that on the night of 6th and 7th May, once those ghastly and cowardly attacks were made, the Indians requested after those attacks, and Pakistan gave a very clear response that we will communicate back only after we have given the response that this and retribution that this act deserves. So on 10th of May, after that response and retribution, that just retribution, targeting not the civilians, but those military establishments, those units, those places from where the attack on the civilians, the innocent civilians, the children was made, once they were neutralized and taken out. And on the request and intervention of the international interlocutors, we responded to the already made request of the Indians. And if you see publicly, what's on the public record? What I have shown you just now. What was the public position of the Ministry of Defence of the Indian Armed Forces? Who was asking for non-escalation once the just retribution of Pakistan Armed Forces have gone? So I think the record publicly, the facts speak for themselves. You want me to make public that what strategy are we going to adopt? For any threat, anything that they can pose, posture, your armed forces are always vigilant and ready. We have proved it on ground multiple times. We can prove it. So, and we don't respond. And we are not here for a response that what they said. And so it's not that what they said that I have to say.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I'll come to you after that.
Thank you very much. Saima Shabir from Arab News. Sir, my question is related to tomorrow's meeting by DGMOs. Pakistan has declared the suspension of Indus Water Treaty as an act of war. So if tomorrow on the agenda, this Indus Water Treaty suspension is on the table and India does not call it off, I mean, it does not regulate it again, and it is suspended till the time. So what would be the strategy by Pakistan Army, because Pakistan has called it an act of war?
So the position of the government of Pakistan on the Indus Water Treaty is absolutely clear, and no further comment is needed on that. Our Turkish friend over here is raising his hands again and again. Skardu, okay. I thought you are from the Andolo news agency. Sir, many people thought I am Chinese here. Yes. Khaplu, great place. Great place.
I am from Khaplu Chwar at the border area, just a half hour from the Indian border.
Okay. Sir, I am from British. Okay. Sorry for the mistaken identity.
So we can go with the question. Sir, my question is that
अहमद मंसूर 24 न्यूज़ से ताल्लुक़ है। जनरल साहब, हमारी जो फोर्सेस की लीडरशिप है उसके लिए बहुत कुछ कहने को है, लेकिन मैं सिर्फ ये कहूँगा कि जो बॉडी लैंग्वेज स्ट्राइक्स आपने की हैं इस सारे कन्फ्लिक्ट में, उन्होंने भी बॉर्डर पर बड़ा कुछ हिला के रखा है। सवाल सर मेरा ये है कि मसला कश्मीर एक ऐसा है कि उसकी वजह से दो एटमी जो ताकतें हैं वो एक खौफनाक जंग पूरी दुनिया को हिला के रख देती है। इस दफ़ा फिर यही हुआ। और अभी जो सदर ट्रंप ने अभी जो दूसरा ट्वीट किया है, उन्होंने मसला कश्मीर को एक मुतनाज़ा इलाका करार दिया है, उसका जिक्र मुतनाज़ा खित्ते के तौर पे किया है। तो इंडिया तो इसको अपने तौर पे इसको गैर मुतनाज़ा कहे बैठा है, लेकिन क्या ये एक बड़ा नादर मौका नहीं है, सुनहरी मौका नहीं है पाकिस्तान के पास कि अब इस जो कन्फ्लिक्ट के तनाज़र में, अब चूँकि दुनिया भी राब्ते में है, सबकी नज़रें हैं इस पर, तो पाकिस्तान दोबारा मसला कश्मीर को
Kashmir remains central to the dispute between India and Pakistan. And peace between India and Pakistan will always elude till the time there is not the resolution of the Kashmir as per the United Nations resolutions and as per the will of the people of Kashmir. So that is important to understand. Till the time that is not done, there cannot be enduring peace between India and Pakistan. So this military conflict has once again put Kashmir right as the flashpoint, which needs to be resolved, which needs to be as per the will of the people of the Kashmir. And you have alluded to the tweet and the international power, rightly understanding that this issue of Kashmir needs to be resolved. The problem here is that what we are seeing is, and I talked about it in my last press conference also, is that India continues to internalize this external problem. Kashmir is an external problem with Pakistan, India and the people of Kashmir. It is on the UNSC resolution. It's an internationally recognized dispute. And India is trying to internalize it. How? By trying to change the demography of Kashmir, by trying to change the legal status in violation of the UNSC resolutions and the international commitments that India has made, by the coercion and harassment of the people of illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, and multiple other actions, by the oppression that is going on and the just and the just struggle of the people of Kashmir for their rights, and then on the pretext of law and order, on the pretext of terrorism, this you are seeing what's happening even after Pahalgam in Kashmir. Houses of the people are being bulldozed, blasted. People are being taken into custody, and not in dozens but in hundreds, in thousands. You have got so much security forces, so many intelligence people, so much state power put in that very small place. The rights of the people, the plight of the women, the plight of the children. So it's an international issue. Talk it out, find a solution which satisfies the will of the people. So that is what needs to be done as far as Kashmir is concerned.
सर मोहम्मद इमरान सुनो न्यूज़ से। सर मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि क्या इंटरनेशनल गारंटीज दी गई हैं कि जो सीज़ फायर है वो कोई लंबे अरसे के लिए सस्टेन कर सकेगा?
You see, being the spokesperson of the armed forces of Pakistan, I can state with 200% certainty that the Pakistan armed forces are holding the line of control ceasefire. No violation is being made by Pakistan Army or the armed forces. Because we are a professional army and we strongly abide by the commitments that we make, and we follow in letter and spirit the orders of the political government. That's what the professional army does. Now, if you see in reality what's happening in Pakistan, Pakistan is celebrating peace. You go to the streets and towns of Pakistan, the Pakistanis are celebrating peace. Does it make any sense for Pakistan to start violating the commitment that we made? It doesn't make any sense. Because we are a peace-loving nation. Peace within and without. However, if there is any aggression, we will respond, and we respond then.
So thank you so much. My name is Raza. I'm from Iranian State News Agency. If you allow me, I have a question from the Honorable Vice Admiral Thank you. So we have seen the activities of the Navy before the escalation and the readiness. As the Indian Navy P-81 was being closely tracked and even seen on media, why Pakistan Navy decided not to shoot it down? And you refer to the limitation facing by the Indian aircraft carrier. Keeping in view the limitation of the Indian aircraft carrier, can you please explain us why India have not brought its carrier to, for so-called possible attack?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the question. Okay. First of all, like I told you that the war is not fought in isolation by a single service. So, whatever we do, it's a very well coordinated effort. So, all actions are calibrated amongst the three armed forces at what time, what is to be done. So, at that time, when that was the video of 4th and 5th of May, we just demonstrated that we were keeping a very close vigilance. And I've mentioned our, the very effective coordination and collaboration with Pakistan Air Force. So I'll not go into those details because of the operational security reasons. But essentially, that was simply to send across a message that if we can track, so we can go to the next level, but that is based on the national decision-making. That's not an isolated. The Navy will always act in sync with the all three services, and that would be a national security decision-making thing. So when the time will come for that to happen, so inshallah we will respond in that fashion. The aircraft carrier, I mentioned, for example, we can have that slide, Kazim, if he's here. So this is the aircraft carrier which is having 8 to 12 MiG-29s, which is barely enough to carry out its own air defense. And aircraft carriers, if the Western air carrier, if you talk of the Ford class aircraft carriers, they carry like 75 plus aircraft. And the purpose is to project the power and to have the air superiority in a theater of war. So, and that is how they influence operations from sea to land. So here, in case of INS Vikrant, the aircraft that it was carrying, they were barely enough to protect, to carry out its own air defense. And the question of projecting power ashore or to maintaining an air superiority in a theater, in conflict theater, that's simply not possible. We know that, the Indian Navy understands that, and that is why it was more of a psychological, trying to create a deception or a psychological effect. And we fully understood that. And like I said, we were always ready. Had there been any aggression, we, in close coordination with Pakistan Air Force, we were always ready. They were cockpit ready to generate a response. We have a mechanism worked out with the Pakistan Naval Aviation assets and Pakistan Air Force assets. So the response was always ready. And this is simply, let me say it politely, I did mention that as a professional military officer, I don't want to underestimate the enemy, but let me tell you candidly that INS Vikrant, with its present capability, it's effective essentially in the IO domain, and which essentially you saw that